This is the Sea of Galilee. So many important things happen by the sea that we need a small piece of it here to help tell the stories. Now, the sea is a wonderful and wild place. And when the wind blows across the surface, the sea begins to swell and the waves rise up. Higher and higher they can become. And if you are caught in the middle of it, it can be very frightening and dangerous. But when the wind is at rest, the sea also enjoys the calm, and it can become so still. Some days it can appear as if it were a sheet of glass. Once, when Jesus was teaching beside the Sea of Galilee, so many people came to listen to the wonderful things he was saying that the crowd got so big that it became difficult to see Jesus and to hear him. And so Jesus asked his disciples to bring a boat by the shore. And Jesus got into the back of the boat, and they pushed away so that he could speak to the crowd from a place where they could see and hear him better. All day long, Jesus taught the crowd. And when evening came, he was very tired. And he said to the disciples, "Let's sail across the sea." Exhausted from the long day, Jesus went to the back of the boat and laid his head on a pillow. And fell fast asleep. And soon a strong wind started to blow, and the waves began to slap against the side of the boat. And the wind blew harder. It began to roar, and the sea answered with wild and rowdy waves rising up that smashed into the boat. And the boat began to rock back and forth, caught in the middle of the waves. And the wind hollered even more, and soon the waves were so fierce that they towered like giants over the disciples and crashed into the boat. And there was Jesus in the back of the boat, fast asleep. And the wind howled louder, and the waves surged higher, and the sea poured into the boat. And the boat began to creak and to moan, sinking down into the sea. And the disciples ran to Jesus and said, "Wake up, wake up! Don't you care that we might die?" And Jesus opened his eyes and stood up. And he looked right into the face of the storm and commanded it, "That's enough. Be still." And immediately the wind lost its breath, and the sea began to recede and go back to the place where it had been. It calmed to a complete hush, and all was still. And Jesus turned to his disciples and he said, "Why are you afraid? After all you have seen while being with me, do you still have no faith?" The disciples stood in awe, and they wondered, "Who is this person that even the wind and the sea do what he says?" Now I wonder how the wind feels blowing across the sea. I wonder how the sea feels being rough and wild. I wonder how the disciples feel rocking around in the boat with the waves towering around them. And what about Jesus? I wonder how Jesus was able to sleep during that awful, terrible storm. I wonder why the wind and the waves listened to Jesus and did what he said. I wonder how the sea feels being calm. I wonder how the disciples felt when it was all over. I wonder what they told their families when they went ashore at the end of the day. I wonder why the disciples are following Jesus. I wonder if they would keep following him if he were not doing amazing things. I wonder if Jesus, when he got into the boat, knew what was going to happen. And if he did know, I wonder why he took a pillow in the boat with him. And finally, I wonder how you feel and what you're thinking after hearing this story.